Welcome to our new little podcast. I'm Zac.
And I'm Nicole.
And in today's episode, we're going to be looking at recently Joe Biden gave his first congressional address in the House of Representatives. And he highlighted it on his 100 days of in office. And he talked about things he did and things he's planning on doing. And Biden had four key things that he talked about. And one of the first things was vaccines. Biden, when it came to vaccines, hit his goal. He hit the 100 million goal, and he even hit the 200 million goal of vaccines in American arms, and that's just great by him.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much to say on this one. Like, he went way past his goal. Like, he's doing well in this area based on what he planned. The one thing I'm worried about for the future is that, like, I think we need, like, 85% vaccinated for herd immunity, and there's not going to be that many because not that many people want to get vaccinated, so...
Yeah, recent polls showed that 26% of Americans are still unwilling to get the vaccine, so that leaves us about 74%, which is almost enough for herd immunity and could probably be doable, but it's going to be hard to get all 74% of those people vaccinated.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, the vaccines are making things kind of go back to normal, but, like, we need most people to be vaccinated in order for the virus to, like, really end, and I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and we have to thank the the COVID relief bill that Joe Biden passed. Another thing he highlighted in his speech as one of the main reasons why this vaccine got pushed out the way it did. Joe Biden rebuilt America through this. I think he did well with the $1,400 checks, and America seems to be going smoothly, and things have been, like Nicole said, going back to normal.
Yeah, so I feel like in this area, he's doing what he planned. He's doing what he said he would. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to discuss there on the relief bill. I mean, he just mentioned it. We figured we'd bring it up. One thing he did say throughout his speech was that the $15 minimum wage, he brought it back up. I still don't see that being passed anytime soon. Not even I don't really personally agree with it, but I figured Joe Biden mentioned it, might as well bring it up here. I know Nicole has her thoughts on the $15 bill.
Yeah, I mean, like, I obviously think that I support the $15 minimum wage. I also don't think it's really realistic because, like, I mean, even not all Democrats support it. Like Joe Manchin, Kristen, how do you say it? Kristen
Cinema, yeah.
Cinema.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even support it, so it's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But Joe Biden did raise $15 minimum wage on federal contractors, which will not be thrown in right away. It'll build up over time and then adjust to inflation. But when Biden was towards the middle of his speech, he highlighted his two main future points that he wants to pass. And the first one is the American Jobs Plan. So for those who didn't know, the American Jobs Plan is an infrastructure bill that's very expensive right now, routing out at about $1.9 trillion, if I remember correctly. And Republicans have sent their proposal and have talked to Biden about it. But mainly this bill is to fix America's road system, healthcare system, and a lot of it's with green energy.
So the two things I have to say about, like, obviously it's very expensive. First of all, I think clean energy and, like, climate initiatives like this are a huge investment because it's going to make it easier for, like, American business to prosper in the future. Second of all, everything's expensive. Like, we spend so much on the military, so it's not that we don't have the money, it's just, like, where are we spending it? That's what always gets me when people are like, this bill costs $1 billion. Like, we spend so much on defense, on other things, and it's just like moving the money around, you know?
Yeah, Joe Biden's like through this section was just jobs, jobs, jobs. He wants to give jobs, and all this infrastructure, this healthcare, it all gives you jobs. It applies jobs for people. 75% of the jobs don't even require an associate's degree, and 90% only require a high school diploma. So it just shows that Joe Biden is trying to get people from the middle class who can't go to college and don't see it as a good opportunity to get jobs. And there's no reason why as Joe Biden said, these wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of them being built in China. His main thing through this jobs plan is to buy American, as he said, and that's taking a note from Trump's book.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, people, when he is, like, ending pipeline projects, they're saying, oh, it's taking away jobs. But jobs change. Like, there's jobs that were around in the 50s that just wouldn't make sense anymore because technology changes and, like, jobs come and go. So, I don't know. I think this is good that it's opening up jobs in, like, the clean energy area.
Yeah, and during his speech as well, he targeted the Rust Belt, states like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, these coal working and Rust Belt states that rely on these fossil fuel jobs. And he targeted them just by saying that these green energy jobs, they're jobs for you guys. He understands that, coal and natural gas and oil is a staple in these economies, but if we can convert that to wind and solar and give these people jobs, that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to take jobs from these people. He wants to give them better jobs, cleaner jobs, and ultimately greener jobs.
Yeah, and those areas like mining communities in West Virginia have had really high poverty rates for a long time because it's just not sustainable. Like mining hasn't brought them prosperity for the past few decades. So this is a chance for their like jobs to really improve and for more prosperity to come to those areas.
Yeah, a lot of people they just don't see it like that, and I understand Republicans are very hesitant on the price tag, and within this is what Biden calls human infrastructure, and that's what like the healthcare rehaul and all that is. And Republicans are very hesitant to pass that kind of bill just because it's so much money. And when Democrats are looking at it, they're like, well, oh, like healthcare is part of the infrastructure. Well, it's hard to figure out if it is or not. And I see why Republicans are very leery about it, and that's why they have proposed their own plan. But there has to be some type of compromise because this bill will not pass without a Democrat compromise with Republicans.
Yeah. I don't know. I want huge sweeping changes to happen, but we have to be realistic that like electorally certain things just won't pass.
Yeah, and that's with the jobs plan. Like I said, I mean, Biden has already been in talks with Republicans. One other another thing that Joe Biden talks about is the policing, George Floyd Policing Reform Act, and the main rebuttal by Tim Scott addresses this. And Tim Scott is one of the lead Republicans with Democrat Cory Booker from New Jersey who are working on this bill. And one of the things that they're really conflicting on is qualified immunity, which gives police officers and police departments the right to be immune from acts of civil lawsuits unless there's clear, like, I guess, clear illegal in their actions, and that's the main thing why Republicans have not passed this bill yet.
Yeah, I can't believe that's a thing. Like, even if it's qualified, they should never, ever, in any circumstances, be above the law. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. I mean, their goal is to enforce the law. Obviously, things happen, but with the way everything is nowadays, I think qualified immunity should be restructured a little. I understand why Republicans are not giving it up in general, but there needs to be definitely big compromise there.
Yeah, I think it should be gone. Because this is like, it can be a life or death matter. Like, they need to be fully held accountable in all situations.
No, I totally understand. But so the last main thing that Joe Biden talks about is this American Family Plan. Joe Biden has been keen on cutting child poverty in half and getting American children through education systems and getting them into college. And this plan is big. This is probably out of the last three plans, in my opinion, the most liberal of Joe Biden. I think his jobs plan being the least liberal, even though they are very liberal. The American Families Plan, what it is it's that child tax credit that's already happening, but he wants to renew that until 2025. He wants to keep that a staple. And also some other things was 2 years of free community college, reduced cost of daycare. His main thing was that middle or low income families should not pay more than 7% of their income towards daycare. And he wants to heavily reduce the cost of college.
Yeah, I agree. This is like a pretty huge one. It's another one with a pretty big price tag. So think there's definitely going to be some opposition to it. Um, but I think it's good. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the things that he's pushing for are really important. Like, childcare shouldn't be impossible to afford because obviously, like, children are the future of the country. Not to sound cheesy, but like, they should be getting good care and it shouldn't break banks, you know?
Yeah, and one of the things where Joe Biden addresses this, he asked himself, so how do we pay for these jobs and family plans, the American job and American family plan? And he said he was gonna raise tax. Now, what I like about this though is Joe Biden is not raising the tax rate on people making 400,000 plus to like 40 or 50%. He's only raising it up 2% to 39.6%, which was the tax rate during the time of Bush in the 2000s. So hopefully a lot of Republicans can get behind that because it's just a 2% increase. And the study showed that 55 of some of the biggest corporations in America paid absolutely nothing in tax dollars. And that's $40 billion that are not federally taxed.
Yeah, and also if you look at like graphs from I don't know the past century, like the tax rate on wealthy Americans has decreased so much over the past few decades and it's just like I don't know, we need to keep increasing it. Obviously, we don't always see eye to eye on that, but I feel
Yeah,
like
I mean I agree with a little bit of an increase. I don't want too much of an increase, and I also don't think we should decrease it at all because trickle down economics has just shown it doesn't work.
mhm.
Um, Americans are very selfish with their money, and they're all about buying nice cars, nice houses for themselves, and they always give money to seemingly corrupt politicians. I mean, about every politician in America is corrupt because that's how you make it. But another thing is Biden wants to cut loopholes in the tax codes and everything because he wants people to be accountable. The 1% should be paying the most taxes because they make the most money. That's just common sense.
Yeah, agreed. But by a lot. Like
You just want them to pay for everything in America, don't you?
I mean, yeah. But no, but the thing is like if we actually tax them just like basically a small amount, it would pay for so much, but they get out of it through all these loopholes and stuff. So like I don't think anybody should be starving while like Jeff Bezos has more money than he'll ever know what to do with.
See, but at least Jeff Bezos does good stuff with his money. At least on the surface, he does donate to a lot of charities and he's focused on green energy and everything. So there are some billionaires out there who actually do good with their money. But even then, they don't do enough with their money.
But like for example, this is totally getting off what we were talking about, but like him focusing on green energy, like he caused a lot of these problems with the way that his business operates. Like the billionaires are causing climate problems and then they're like, "Oh, I'm going to donate like very very small unnoticeable amount of my income to the problems that I started." Like
Well, that's why we need plans like the American job plans to pass. Like we need
yeah.
it to shift America from this um fossil fuel producing to green energy, and I think we need to bring everyone in America together for that. And obviously I'm huge on the environment, so Joe Biden could pass anything super liberal in the environment, and no matter how unrealistic it is, I will get behind 100% because without the environment, we don't have politics.
We don't have anything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we do need people to pay their fair share, and I think this is something that Republicans can get behind on that increase in tax, and I think they can get behind corporations paying a bit more too. And even before Trump slashed tax rates, corporations under Obama were, they said they were willing to meet in the middle with him, and that's what they did. And corporations did not have a problem with that. But I mean, Biden, 100 days in, I think Biden is doing a good job. Obviously, he's made some mistakes, missed out on some promises, but every president does that no matter what. And I think he just needs to keep going on this route he is. And he still has an approval rate better than Trump has ever had in office. So that's a good start.
Yeah. I mean, to rein myself back in, these things that he's proposing, they're definitely a good first step, in my opinion. He's also like bombing Syria and stuff like that, but we won't get
Yeah,
into that.
yeah, those are definitely bad things that he's
Oh,
doing.
yeah, a lot of bad things that people don't want to talk about, but he's making some steps in the right direction.
Exactly. And I mean, he can only go as far as Congress lets him. He needs bills to be passed, everything to be, changed. And such a slim majority in both chambers is really hard.
Hmm.
And Joe Biden can't go super liberal because we have a midterm coming up in 2022, which we'll definitely talk about eventually, but it's going to be probably one of the most competitive midterms ever. And it's really going to determine Biden's presidency in general.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge, especially in PA.
Yeah, exactly. PA is one of the states to look for. So, as always, thank you for listening to our New Deal podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Nicole.